Chapter 15 Friday's Education. After I had been 2 or 3 days returned to my castle, I thought that, in order to bring Friday off from his horrid way of feeding, and from the relish of a cannibal's stomach, I ought to let him taste other flesh. So I took him out with me one morning to the woods. I went, indeed, intending to kill a kid out of my own flock, and bring it home and dress it. But as I was going, I saw a she-goat lying down in the shade, and 2 young kids sitting by her. I catched hold of Friday. "Hold," said I, "stand still," and made signs to him not to stir. Immediately I presented my piece, shot, and killed one of the kids. The poor creature, who at a distance indeed seen me kill the savage, his enemy, but did not know, nor could imagine how it was done, was sensibly surprised, trembled and shook, and looked so amazed that I thought he would have sunk down. He did not see the kid I shot at, or perceive I had killed it, but ripped up his waistcoat to feel whether he was not wounded, and as I found presently, thought I was resolved to kill him, for he came and kneeled down to me, and embracing my knees, said a great many things I did not understand, but I could easily see the meaning was to pray me not to kill him. I soon found a way to convince him that I would do him no harm, and taking him up by the hand, laughed at him, and pointing to the kid which I had killed, beckoned to him to run and fetch it, which he did, and while he was wondering, and looking to see how the creature was killed, I loaded my gun again. By and by I saw a great fowl like a hawk, sitting upon a tree within shot, so, to let Friday understand a little what I would do, I called him to me again, pointed at the fowl, which was indeed a parrot, though I thought it had been a hawk. I say, pointing to the parrot, and to my gun, and to the ground under the parrot, to let him see I would make it fall, I made him understand that I would shoot and kill that bird. Accordingly I fired, and bade him look, and immediately he saw the parrot fall. He stood like one frightened again, notwithstanding all I had said to him, and I found he was the more amazed, because he did not see me put anything into the gun, but thought that there must be some wonderful fund of death and destruction in that thing, able to kill man, beast, bird, or anything near or far off. And the astonishment this created in him was such as could not wear off for a long time, and I believe, if I would have let him, he would have worshipped me and my gun. As for the gun itself, he would not so much as touch it for several days after, but he would speak to it and talk to it, as if it had answered him when he was by himself, which, as I afterwards learned of him, was to desire it not to kill him. Well, after his astonishment was a little over at this, I pointed to him to run and fetch the bird I had shot, which he did, but stayed some time, for the parrot, not being quite dead, had fluttered away a good distance from the place where she fell. However, he found her, took her up, and brought her to me, and as I had perceived his ignorance about the gun before, I took this advantage to charge the gun again, and not to let him see me do it, that I might be ready for any other mark that might present, but nothing more offered at that time. So I brought home the kid, and the same evening I took the skin off, and cut it out as well as I could, and having a pot fit for that purpose, I boiled or stewed some of the flesh, and made some very good broth. After I had begun to eat some, I gave some to my man, who seemed very glad of it, and liked it very well, but that which was strangest to him was to see me eat salt with it. He made a sign to me that the salt was not good to eat, and putting a little into his own mouth, he seemed to nauseate it, and would spit and sputter at it, washing his mouth with fresh water after it. On the other hand, I took some meat into my mouth without salt, and I pretended to spit and sputter for want of salt, as much as he had done at the salt. But it would not do, he would never care for salt with meat or in his broth, at least, not for a great while, and then but a very little. Having thus fed him with boiled meat and broth, I was resolved to feast him the next day by roasting a piece of the kid. This I did by hanging it before the fire on a string, as I had seen many people do in England, setting 2 poles up, one on each side of the fire, and one across the top, and tying the string to the cross stick, letting the meat turn continually. This Friday admired very much, but when he came to taste the flesh, he took so many ways to tell me how well he liked it, that I could not but understand him, and at last he told me, as well as he could never eat man's flesh any more, which I was very glad to hear. The next day I set him to work beating some corn out, and sifting it in the manner I used to do, as I observed before, and he soon understood how to do it as well as I, especially after he had seen what the meaning of it was, and that it was to make bread of. For after that I let him see me make my bread, and bake it too, and in a little time Friday was able to do all the work for me as well as I could do it myself. I began now to consider that having 2 mouths to feed instead of 1, I must provide more ground for my harvest, and plant a larger quantity of corn than I used to do. So I marked out a larger piece of land and began to fence in the same manner as before, in which Friday worked not only very willingly and very hard, but did it very cheerfully, and I told him what it was for, that it was for corn to make more bread, because he was now with me, and that I might have enough for him and myself too. He appeared very sensible of that part, and let me know that he thought I had much more labour upon me on his account than I had for myself, and that he would work the harder for me if I would tell him what to do. This was the pleasantest year of all the life I led in this place. Friday began to talk pretty well, and understand the names of almost everything I had occasion to call for, and of every place I had to send him to, and talked a great deal to me, so that, in short, I began now to have some use for my tongue again, which, indeed, I had very little occasion for before. Besides the pleasure of talking to him, I had a singular satisfaction in the fellow himself. His simple, unfeigned honesty appealed to me more and more every day, and I began really to love the creature, and on his side I believed he loved me more than it was possible for him ever to love anything before. I had a mind once to try if he had any inclination for his own country again, and having taught him English so well that he could answer me almost any question, I asked him whether the nation that he belonged to never conquered in battle? At which he smiled and said, "Yes, yes, we always fight the better." That is, he meant always get the better in a fight, and so we began the following discourse. Master: You always fight the better? How came you to be taken prisoner then, Friday? Friday: My nation beat much for all that. Master: How beat? If your nation beat them, how came you to be taken? Friday: They more many than my nation, in the place where me was. They take 1, 2, 3, and me. My nation overbeat them in the yonder place, where me no was. There my nation take 1, 2, great thousand. Master: But why did not your side recover you from the hands of your enemies then? Friday: They run 1, 2, 3, and me, and make go in the canoe. My nation have no canoe that time. Master: Well, Friday, and what does your nation do with the men they take? Do they carry them away and eat them, as these did? Friday: Yes, my nation eats mans too, eat all up. Master: Where do they carry them? Friday: Go to other place, where they think. Master: Do they come hither? Friday: Yes, yes, they come hither, come other else place. Master: Have you been here with them? Friday: Yes, I have been here. Points to the northwest side of the island, which it seems was their side.